right. So, I hope I haven't strained your brain learning about the brain, but we've got a little bit left to do on this section. Okay, so now we're going to move on to a cranial nerve. Now, remember when we looked at nerves? Nerves are actually considered to be part of the peripheral nervous system, okay? And so they're outside of the brain and spinal cord. Now, what's the point of having a cranial nerve? What's its job? Why is it there? Okay. Now, what a cranial nerve does is that it delivers action potentials from the body to the brain, and then from the brain to your body. That's the job of a cranial nerve. Communication from the body to the brain, and to the brain to the body. Essentially its job. Okay, so we have 12 pairs. Now we're not going to ask you to memorize all of the names of the cranial nerves. We just need you to understand that you have 12 pairs, and they usually just serve the head and neck a little bit. There's one that actually goes down to the thorax, but it's mostly the head and the neck. Okay, and they're numbered, and they all have a job to do. Okay, so the way that the cranial nerves come out to and end up where they need to be is through holes in the skull. Okay, so that's where the nerves come out of. So let's have a look at this picture. I know there's a lot going on, but let me just make sure that you understand it as best as we can. So you know how in the spinal cord we had sensory information coming in from the back and motor information coming out from the front? Okay, well, cranial nerves can have sensory information only, can have motor information only, or it can have both. Okay, so spinal nerves always have both, but cranial nerves sometimes only have sensory and sometimes only have motor. Okay, let's have a look and see what I mean. So I'll give you an example of a motor one. This one here, the trochlear nerve, which is nerve number 4, it only contains information going out. So the brain tells those muscles what to do. Right? So that nerve only contains motor information going out of the brain to the body. Let's have a look at a sensory one. Look at this one here. Okay? Actually, this one, cranial nerve number 1. That one only contains sensory information. So only contains information coming into the brain. For example, let's do a mixed one. So a mixture one here, or maybe we can do this one, a mixture one, the glossopharyngeal. It has information leaving the brain and information coming in. So it's got information going out and information coming in. All right? So some of them are sensory, some of them are motor, and then some of them are mixed. So by one-way street, I mean either one way out or one way in, and then by two-way streets, I mean both sensory and motor. All right, here's another picture, another illustration, and you can see them there. They just numbered 1 to 12 as you go from anterior to posterior. Okay, so why do we test cranial nerves? Because if we test a nerve, just like we did in the spinal cord, and you're not getting the response you're expecting, it means there's something wrong with the neurons. Okay, Something's happening. So let's have a look at this Bell's palsy. Can you see here? This is the facial nerve. Let's have a look at the facial nerve. Its job. Where is it? Facial nerve, see? The facial nerve, it only has information coming out, okay, to the muscles of the face. So what sometimes can happen, if you have an injury to that nerve, that message from your brain to the muscles in your face can't get there. It's blocked. So that's why you get a saggy face. Because your brain is always telling your muscles what to do on your face. All right? So that is why. So yeah, if there is a problem with one of the responses, or if there's problems with one of the cranial nerves, then you will see that based on what its function is. Yeah? So if you have a problem with this nerve, okay, it's going to have consequences based on its function. All right, and that is cranial nerves, hey? So I guess what you need to focus on, just remembering that, you know, you have 12 pairs, they're numbered from anterior to posterior. They all have responsible for different roles or different functions. Some of them are sensory, some of them are motor, and some of them are mixed. And that we do cranial nerve testing, all right? So you know how you could look at someone's pupil? That is a test for cranial nerve damage, okay? What the pupil does when you shine a light, and that tells you things about the neurons, whether they're healthy and they're working properly in that circuit, or whether there's something wrong in that circuit. All right, brain is done.